Hey everyone, it's Jeff and Jamie. We're back with you at our podcast, the weekly podcast that we try to get done every week. Honestly, it's been one of the things that we've looked at, and we have not set an official streak around this podcast yet, but we kind of have it in the back of our minds. Because I know that you've been thinking about that.
I was going to say, I thought we kind of had, but you're right, because I don't know exactly how many weeks that we've done it in a row.
I haven't been keeping a record on it because I don't know if we wanted to set it as a streak yet, because I don't know if it's laughably simple enough.
That's a good point. See, that is the beauty of streaks, is that it really does make you think. It's interesting that you can start doing something like as a little trial run where you're like, do I really want to make this a streak? It's
I agree.
Interesting that you can be hesitant. I guess that's it. You can be hesitant to start because you know, I'm going to have to be committed.
You know what, though,
this.
as far as the hesitancy has come because, when we started streaking 5 years ago, and we started with, I saw that look. You were
I
just
know.
calculating.
I was calculating. I was like, has it really been 5 years?
Yeah.
But it has been. You're right.
And it wasn't that. I think the calculation was, though, is we hadn't really come up with the methodology nor some of the breakthroughs
we were
that
doing
we had,
it. We've had our longest streak. And I think that's what's been fun is that we started doing something. And maybe this is part of the growth process, is that we started doing something and then we've learned along the way what kind of some of the stuff we've done intuitively and other stuff we've had to be like, this isn't working. Why does it work for other situations but not for this?
Right.
And so we've learned.
So when I was thinking about that, so for 5 years we've been doing this, what happens with the intentionality of something is the reluctance comes not only, I believe, from, I'm going to be keeping track of this. Can I really do it? I think there's that some of that reluctance. In other words, the confidence to do it. I think actually, though, after it flips and after several years of streaking, you know that you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so you wait to say, do I really want to put this as a streak? Do I want to put this on the conscious level of growth, or do I want to just let it be what it is
Be what
right
it
now?
is for right now. Exactly.
And it reminds me of, we were doing a presentation, was it last week or the week before, on streaking? And one of the questions came in that was, well, how do you have time to do all of your streaks? In other words, the person who was asking the question started to think about all the things
that you're doing. She's like, that's going to take a big chunk of time.
Well, and all the things that she wanted to be doing for a streak, and that's going to be taken. And I've actually thought a lot about that, because the question is a good one in the sense that I thought, well, the reason I'm setting them as a streak is because I want to be, in other words, I want to be spending my time there.
Right.
Does that make sense?
But there's also this little bit of hesitancy that you're like, ooh, it's going to take time. How are you going to have the time to get that all done? Which is actually one of the questions that we asked, which is how the whole methodology developed.
Well, and how the whole methodology developed. And then I think about, because those are taking time, there's other things that I'm not going to be doing.
Right.
And that's where we talk about the theory of displacement.
Right.
Where I'm displacing some things that are not as valuable. And that's the whole key, is that I'm consciously choosing to displace some things that are not as valuable as the things I'm consciously choosing to do.
And the methodology has given us a way to actually make that happen. Like, the desire is there, but sometimes... And I guess what I felt like she was expressing was a little bit of trepidation of that. Can I really do that? Can I really spend the time? Mm-hmm. When the truth is, that's part of the beauty of having a streak, is that you are looking at it and saying, is this important enough to me to spend time on it, to look at it and say, I really do want this to be a part of my life every day.
To be deliberate about it, to be, all of those things.
All of those things.
Well, that was it. We just kind of kicked right into it, didn't it?
I was going to say, I'm like, I love that we sit down and we decide, like, loosely, we're like, okay, we're going to talk about this today. And then we get going. I'm like, we didn't even talk about this today. So, anyway.
I know. And we didn't.
We didn't.
Just
we had a different plan. But
there were
I love
some
that.
things that came up because of just how and discussing whether or not we should make this podcast a streak or not. Because it relies on both of us.
It does.
I mean,
So I
it's not
guess it
just
would
me
be
and
a
it's
team
not just you,
streak.
it'd be a team streak.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't talked a lot about team streaks.
We haven't
yet.
yet.
That is not the focus
That's
today.
not what our topic was for the day.
Today, we are going to be talking a little bit about the idea of discounting and not discounting and growth.
Right.
And all those things.
And I thought we
What
were
are you
going to
gonna say?
introduce Lily's song.
Oh, yeah.
Thought we would do
Well,
that
tell us
today
about
too.
it. Yeah.
So Lily's our one that's actually a dancer. That's her passion and love is dancing, but she's picked up the ukulele recently.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff asked her, he said, "You know what? I want you to write me a song." And so she did. She took that challenge and she wrote a song about streaking.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be fun to share it with her. I'm excited and proud of her because she hasn't been singing for years. This is something she's picking up and taking with it. But it was really fun to see how she wrote this song and exploring it and her ideas and understanding of streaking. So I thought we'd share it with everyone today.
I think that's a great idea. It was fun to record it with her, too, because we kind of put her in the recording studio. And so she did her ukulele first, and then she sang it, and then we mixed those two together. And so here it is.
Ever feel hopeless? All these things you wanna do just can't seem to ever focus. All these goals falling through. Did you set a resolution and say this time I'll see it through? But it's January 4th and you're already feeling blue. Go big or go home, they say, but I can show you a simpler way. It's the small and simple things that make the life we live worth living. Among the rush, do one push-up, become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping. You're in a hurry, don't even worry. It's too simple not to do. It's the little things that make a better you. A better you. It's the little things that make a better you.
So what'd you think?
I loved it. Of course, I'm only slightly biased for two reasons. One, Lily's my daughter, and so I'm like, oh, she did so good. I'm proud of her. And two, obviously, I love streaking and what she was writing about.
Yeah.
So, but I love that it's a catchy tune. She did a good job.
Yeah, it's been going through my head since she sang it the very first time to me. What she did is she brought us in her room and she said, "Okay, I'm going to play it for you now." And
it was cute. She has this mirror in her bedroom, and she had written out the lyrics on the mirror. And so
the mirror is, I mean, describing the mirror, it's kind of a floor mirror.
Kind of a floor mirror. Yeah, it's a pretty big mirror.
Goes halfway up the wall, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit more than that.
And so she had taken an expo marker and just had written out all the lyrics, and it was fun to see where she had crossed things out and added things. But I think one of my favorite parts of the song is the chorus when she talks about that it's the little things that make a better you. I love that.
I think, and in there, as you think about the lyrics, it's the small and simple things that I forget exactly what it says, but the small and simple things that make a better you.
Yeah.
I love that because it's easy, I think, for all of us, for me, to discount the little things. To discount them as it's just not enough.
Right.
And therefore, and that's one of the things, I loved in the lyrics of her song where she talks about we go after the big and bold and beautiful.
Yes.
Or, we've gone after this great big thing and by January 4th, we're not even pursuing it anymore.
We're not doing it. Yeah. We had a really good discussion the other day, you and I, when we were talking about this idea of discounting. And we were thinking about, like, when I go shopping and the idea of going to, like Hobby Lobby will have their discount aisle. Like, they put everything on a certain aisle that's 80% off.
Yeah.
And it's fun to go to that. Like, it's always kind of like, oh, what do they have? But as we were talking about it, it's interesting because everything on that shelf or that aisle has been discounted. which means when I go to look at it, my priority isn't necessarily the value of the product. I'm going there because the price.
The price.
I'm hoping that there's a little treasure in there that for a really cheap price, I can find something that I'm like, oh, I can make that work, or I can use that. But I don't go over there thinking, oh, I've got a specific thing in mind that I really need. Here's the value of it.
Right.
I'm going to get it. I go down that aisle with the priority of being price.
Price.
And so we were talking about that when you discount the small things, at some level, you are devaluing them.
Mm-hmm. Well, because that's what the discount aisle is these things no longer have their value
right.
for whatever reason.
For
they
whatever
may be out
reason.
of season. They may be, at one point, they had a different value than what they have. Now, the value is indicated in a product by the price, and so it's now been discounted or yet devalued.
Right. It is reduced in value. It's no longer at the same level
right.
that it was. And so we talked about this idea that if we discount these small things, we are devaluing their importance, and how important it is to recognize that these small things that we do, that we add, or doing something small each day, the value that is bringing.
And I think that it's easy to discount it because as I look at it, if I do something small consistently, that's where it has the value.
Right.
But if I do it inconsistently, if I don't do it on a regular basis, then it doesn't have the value for me. So, as I look at some of the streaks that some of the people have that we've talked to, we mentioned a little bit about Laurel's streak about being thoughtful and doing one thoughtful thing or a thoughtful text daily or something like that.
Right.
Once or twice, it's nice and it's good. The value of it comes in her doing it every single day. Mm-hmm. Would you say that that's it? But
yeah,
it's a simple thing.
And it's a small, I'm trying to understand how I could explain in words what I'm seeing in my head. It's this idea of turning it a little bit differently so you're seeing it from a different perspective, in the sense that what she's doing is important.
Yeah.
Because it's a small thing, it's easy for us to be like, well, that's just a little thing. But the value of doing that little thing over a long period of time, sometimes I look at it and I think, that is amazing.
Yeah. One of the programmers that's working on the app has a streak of, it's a streak of, I think it's one line of code or learning one line of code or something a little bit different every single day, so that he can become a better programmer. I don't know where that came from.
Better programmer.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. A better programmer. And I look at that. So in his professional life, he's looking at it and saying, look, I'm a developer. I develop programs. I do these things. I want to be a better programmer. In order to be that person, I need to do something. And that doing is this simple thing of studying one line of code daily to learn something new about it or review it, whatever
right.
it is, whatever's laughably simple for him. That intrigues me as far as, because that could be discounted very quickly. And here's the other part of discounting. And this is where it gets is, and you've said this before, it's not impressive to someone else.
Right.
Well, if it's not impressive to someone else, from where am I deriving the value of this thing, of this action, of this activity that I've chosen to do? Is it from other sources? In other words, I'm doing it to impress other people?
Right.
Or is it intrinsic? In other words, the things that I look inside. In the foreword of the book, Chris McChesney, he writes the foreword and he talks about the extrinsic and the intrinsic values that we have. An extrinsic value, he says, and I love the way he says this, he said, if you derive, extrinsic value is what you think others think of you. And as you think of what others think of you, it's like looking at the mirrors in a funhouse. It may be interesting for a while,
right?
But it's very distorted, and it changes over time. Whereas intrinsic value comes from one source, and that source is integrity to your values.
Oh, that's interesting.
So as I think about that, integrity to your values, or he said, in keeping promises to yourself. That's why he loves streaking, is because it's the small, simple things that you do every single day that make a better you.
Right.
That's lyrics of
That
song.
would be a great song.
That would be. But that's, I think, and so it's easy to discount it when it's not impressive, or I don't think it's going to be impressive to the outside world. Am I making any sense there?
Totally. What do you do? What if the streak that you've set isn't impressive to yourself? What if you're like, I mean, how do you overcome that at the beginning where that it's like, because there's some streaks that I have that for the first long time, I didn't tell anybody about them because
I knew about them.
You knew about them
because it was creative
because you're part of my community, but
right.
I didn't tell anybody outside of my small community what they were because they were so what I considered unimpressive.
Is there one that you're thinking of that's an example that you'd be willing to share? And it's okay. No is okay. I was just curious if there's one.
I can't think of one. I mean, no, I guess I'm still not willing to share it yet.
Okay, good. I just was checking.
But it is interesting that what do you do?
Because to this day, that particular, I think the streak that you're thinking about, you still have a hard time thinking it's valuable enough.
I do. And I'm at over 450 days of doing that streak. So I've been doing it for over a year.
If it's not valuable?
It is valuable. That's a good question. We get into these questions where I'm like, okay, here we go. It is valuable to me. The thing that has been a challenge is that even after a certain number of days, I still sometimes question that it is such a small thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And
However, when you question that it's such a small thing and exploring this, and I know that all of our listeners out there, what is the streak? I want to know the streak.
I know.
She may tell you one day, but it's up to her to do. So you should see her rosy cheeks right now. She is smiling and has these great rosy cheeks.
I know. But it is an interesting thing to me. So I guess this is the thing that I look at that I think a lot about with streaking is that it is so important to recognize that streaking is a process of growth and becoming. And I think we are so achievement oriented that I still want that thing that I can tell people that I've achieved.
So
and
saying,
the process, really what I'm doing is striving to become, because the streak that I have, what I'm doing is so simple, the actual thing of it. But what is happening is I am thinking about that thing every day. Mm-hmm. And I am
That's
becoming.
What I was going to go to is you have said often that even though you're still a little bit shy about what the streak is that you do and wondering if it's enough, one thing it has done is it's changed your mindset, your mental mindset. I mean, something that you didn't do consistently 4 years
at
ago,
all.
Before 4 years ago. Now you
actually it's just before 400 days ago.
400 days, sorry, not 4 years, 400 days.
But but now,
sorry, year and a half or year and some odd days.
But now it is something that is genuinely a part of my life. Yeah. And so I guess that's...
Do you like that it's part of your life?
I do like that. But I do find it...
Because why? Why do you like that it's part of your life?
Well, obviously I've wanted it to be a part of my life, which is why I set it as a streak to begin with. And then I guess I love that though I'm not where I want to be yet, I am recognizing that I am growing.
Yeah. That's what I love too, as far as the growth that we look at. It is slow, deliberate growth. And we've talked, I think, a little bit about this, but I wanted to explore it just a minute more as far as growth is concerned. So in staying with this theme, we're not going to discount. Discounting is easy to do.
And maybe that's why I enjoy talking about it, is it's because something that I have to work diligently to continue not doing is discounting it.
Yeah. You are conscious about what it is that you're doing.
Yes.
And you're conscious to the point where you say, all right, I'm going to do this because I value this thing as being a part of my life.
Right.
Now, here's where I want to go with growth for a second. So this is something I've been toying around with in my brain. I want to shoot it out to you. I don't know if I've talked to you about it yet, though.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. You ready?
Yep.
So is fast growth bad and is slow growth good?
That's a good question. is fast growth bad and is slow growth good?
And I know that's pretty polar because you could probably go all kinds of things, but I want to polarize it for just a second. What I was thinking about is landscaping, and you and I do a lot of landscaping, and weeds grow very fast.
That is true.
I mean, faster than anything else. Whereas if we were to plant flowers or trees or anything, it takes a lot of cultivation to get them to grow. I mean, a tree, it's very slow growth, I would say.
Right.
Now with a weed, it grows fast. I mean, it's there and it's quick. It doesn't have a really good root structure, and I can pull it up pretty quickly, but it comes back fast.
Right.
And believe me, I don't know where I'm going with this. These are just the raw thoughts that I had off the top of my head. The tree, however, establishes a root system, gets down in there, and it slowly grows over time. A tree I look at, and because we're in Georgia, we have beautiful, gorgeous trees all over the place. But I look at the tree as something that's majestic and beautiful, whereas I look at the weed as annoying. And pesky. But if I look at the growth of both of those, the tree took a long time to grow, and the weed took a very short time to grow.
Right.
So taking that metaphor, that analogy, and looking at it, as I look at things in my life, when I've done things fast, quickly, it's grown up fast, or I've tried to hold on to something. I wish I had an example off the top of my head, but I don't right off the top of my head. Oftentimes those things go away as quickly as they're introduced.
So that's okay. So you bring up a good point. The fact that this streak hasn't gone away, this one that I still question, it's still a part of my life, and I can see a little bit of growth in that area. But you bring up a really good point, is that this is something that I guess this idea that these things that we want to grow at, can you say that? Grow at? It sounded wrong. These things that we want to grow, some of them I think we will see results quickly. So for example, my geography streak.
Okay, so tell them again what that streak is.
So I have a geography streak.
And why did you start it?
Because I got tired of people talking about things and I could never remember where. Honestly, I didn't even know the 50 states. I didn't have all of that in my head. And so I just wanted to have a mental map of where things were when people would talk about it.
Right.
And there would be conversations that I would feel embarrassed that I didn't know where stuff was. And so I thought, and it's been something that's kind of bothered me for a lot of years in my life. And I think I've talked about it before.
We've talked about that.
And so my geography streak is just to learn something about geography every day. And so, and most of the time, I have a little map game that I play that kind of quizzes me on the different countries or the states, but it can also be as simple as I've had my kids pull up on Wikipedia. I'll just pick a country and say, can you just pull this country up on Wikipedia and read me something about this country? Because I don't know anything about Andorra. And so, and that's part of
Andorra.
It's a country.
Andorra?
It's in Europe. It's a tiny little country in Europe. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't know that. So it's fun to.
I don't know that until right now. Thank you for explaining it to me.
It's fun to learn. And so that streak, to me, I felt like I saw growth more quickly than my other ones. And I started to be within a couple months, I knew the states really well.
Yeah.
And I could see the difference of where I was to where I am. And so that's why when you said, is fast growth bad? I'm like, I don't know. Growth is growth. But I think to expect fast growth on everything is going to be frustrating. To be okay that a lot of things grow slowly.
Here's a point. As you were talking and thinking, as I think about that, the fast growth versus slow growth. So if you would have memorized the 50 states, and I'll bet you did in elementary school or something.
I've worked so many times to memorize the 50 states.
But I mean, what I look at is that memorization for a test, you've been able to do very quickly, because you've often said that, where with testing and things like that.
It would be there when I needed it, but then it was gone.
Then it was
gone.
It
didn't stay.
It resolved itself.
Exactly, it didn't stay.
I'm reading something interesting in Irresistible right now about how if something remains unresolved, you're more likely to remember it than when it's resolved, because at that point you don't need to remember it anymore. It's been resolved. It's fascinating.
Interesting. Yeah, that is fascinating.
So, but the idea that you were able to resolve that through a test, then you didn't need to hang on to it. So I don't know, you grew quickly, but the
true.
root system really wasn't there.
So
it went out just as fast. Just like a weed, I can pick that out just as quickly. Whereas what you're doing right now, and I believe what I've been doing with some of the different streaks that I've had, and many of the people that we've talked with, is it's the slow, steady, simple, laughably simple thing that I keep a record of every day that has now, it's created roots in you. Because, and here's the thing with geography one, if you, what do you score? Because I know, don't you have a little app that you kind
I
of
do. I have a little app
so
that I...
what do you score on the United States when you go and do it now? Generally?
Most of the time, 100%.
Most of the time, 100%.
Unless it's like really late at night for some reason and I tap the wrong state on accident. But most of the time, I'm getting 100%.
Yeah. And the way that this app works, I've seen you do it. It lists, I mean, like you start with a state, say Georgia. And then as soon as you touch Georgia, it gives you a name of another state and you need to go touch that state.
Right.
And you get 100% on that.
Yes.
In how much time?
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes. You're
Sometimes,
able to,
yeah, between a minute and a half and 2 minutes.
And I love that you're smiling. You're just.
I'm all proud of that one. See,
I
I think you can have some streaks that you're like, I'm kind of proud of that one. I've come a long ways.
I know. and I think that is, that has been the slow growth. That didn't come right away, and you had to be patient.
But it's come faster than some of my other streaks, just to be honest. That one, I do feel like...
How long have you been doing it?
Do
you know, just
I don't off the top of my head.
Just roundabout. Is it 100 days? More than 100 days?
Oh, yeah. It's more than a year.
Oh, it's more than a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you've been
doing
at
that one
geography for more than a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I guess the thing that I wanted to embrace is that I feel like what streaking does, whether you have a streak, I do think there will be some streaks that you set that you will see growth more quickly than others.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is that the whole methodology is embracing the idea of continued growth. Mm-hmm. Just continued growth that, and sometimes that growth is going to happen fast and you'll get that reward of being able to see that. Mm-hmm. But there's also a lot of things out there that when you're changing who you are and how you think and what you spend your time doing, that can be almost imperceptibly slow sometimes.
Well, look at
but
the
the
root
streak
system.
lets you know, I am still doing this. Like if I didn't have my streak, the one that I won't tell anybody what it is. If I didn't, I know.
One day
I might tell somebody.
You might tell everyone what it is.
But if I didn't have that streak, I think I would have given up on the growth a long time ago, because the fact that I do it every day and the growth has still been slow tells me that had I not been doing it every day, where would the growth be at if I was doing it sporadically? If I wasn't consistent, it would be, I probably would have given up thinking, or just accepted that it's never going to grow past what it is right now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
But the fact that I continue doing it, there's strength and I guess encouragement in the fact that I'm continuing to do that, that there is growth there. Anyway.
So what I would look at and consider is that as you go on your streaking journey, and I'm talking you, me, everybody in our listening audience here, as you go on this, know that slow growth, don't discount slow growth.
Don't discount slow growth. Don't discount how little something is. Don't discount that it's not big and bold and beautiful.
Right
don't
out of the chute.
Discount that you're not encouraged to tell people about it. Know that you are becoming
who you want to be.
Who you want to be.
And as you look at becoming who you want to be and determining that and knowing that you're doing things in order to be that person, I think that's such a beautiful thing to look at, is to say, here's who I want to be. And it is an aspirational statement. I don't know when or if I will get there, but I'm going to strive diligently every single day through one simple, laughably simple thing to make one more step in the progress of that journey. And that to me is empowering.
I think so too. It's this idea that you are literally embracing growth.
Yeah. So I have to say something about the state of our world right now, as far as we look at all of the unrest and all the different things that are happening, the uncertainty that we have. be it viruses, be it riots, be it any of those things. And in all of that, in everything that's happening, every single one of us can take and look at it and say, who do I want to be? And if I want to be a person that is mindful of others, that is kind, that is thoughtful, that is diligently seeking to understand where others come from, then really what I would say is we need to do, each of us individually, we need to decide to do something every single day to make that happen. And it's within everyone's power. And that's not going to be found in a great big group. It's not going to be found in, a lot of different, it's not going to be found in violence. It's not going to be found in rioting. It's not going to be found in any of those areas.
It's not necessarily going to be found in social programs.
No.
It's going to be found in, and I love what you're saying in the power of, it doesn't matter where you are in the journey, you can start wherever you are. And that's the beauty of the streak, is that you decide who you want to be, and you decide what is laughably simple for you to do. And you have the power to completely start that now, right wherever your circumstance, wherever you are, wherever you thought you would be that you're not, or wherever whatever it is, you can start that journey right now.
Right now. In starting that journey right now, it's your journey. That's the other thing that I love about the way that the streaking methodology has helped us, is that it's not someone putting the journey on me.
Right.
It is me deciding inside of myself who it is I want to be and how it is I'm going to choose to get there.
Which is an interesting thing that I love, because as you were saying that, I thought, I can't decide physically how my children are going to grow.
Yeah.
Like they're going to grow. That is their own individual. Mm-hmm. And so I look at it.
When you say physically, do you mean like the actual physicality?
The
like how high
physicality
they're
of
going
it.
to be?
I can't wish or hope or teach. I mean, we can teach how to eat healthy, but we can't teach how to grow taller.
Yeah.
Like it is an individual thing. You're going to be who you are. Mm-hmm. And so I love that in my mind, that is growth. It's like you individually decide how you're going to grow. Mm-hmm. People can't decide that for you.
No, at all.
Which is empowering.
It really is. It's empowering. It's an opportunity. It's liberating. It's an opportunity to really decide who you want to be and how you want to be. And
that you can be who you want to be.
So this has been a great conversation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've enjoyed it. Hopefully you've enjoyed it as well. If you have something you'd like for us to discuss, or have a streak you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear about them. We hear about streaks all the time. Drop us an email at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at streakingmastery.com.
Or Jamie, Jami, at streakingmastery.com.
And I saw a preview of the new site that's coming out. The new
Our
Streaking
new
Mastery
website.
Site. Yeah.
Yes.
That is exciting. Not to be released until we're still a little ways out, but really excited for the new site.
I am too.
And the book.
And the app. There's a lot ahead.
A lot ahead of us. So
coming together.
Well, thanks so much for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Have a great and wonderful day, and keep streaking.
Keep streaking.
Simple things that make the life we live worth living. Among the rush, do one push up, become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping. You're in a hurry, don't even worry. It's too simple not to do. It's the little things that make a better you. A better you. It's the little things that make a better